Let's get some analysis now of this and all the news internationally right now. Professor Michael Wesley joins me. He's Deputy Vice-Chancellor International at the University of Melbourne. Professor Wesley, thanks as always. What do you make of that dialogue? At least it's happening, I guess, between Presidents Biden and Putin.
Yeah, look, it's always better to know that leaders are speaking rather than not speaking when tensions are rising. The real question is whether they've had very much effect at all. There's very clearly strategic signalling going on here on both sides. On the one hand, Russia does fear the closening of relations between NATO and the Ukraine, as Annalise was saying. On the other hand, NATO and the United States are very worried that this kind of proxy war that Russia has been waging in Ukraine, will continue and will escalate with more Russian troops on the ground. So there's very clear signalling going on. Both sides are warning of dire consequences if the other side steps over the red lines that they're sketching out.
Ukraine is a different scenario, say, to what we saw with Crimea. Ukraine doesn't have the same makeup, basically, of its population, does it?
No, that's right. And if you read the opinion polls, Ukrainians are increasingly of the belief that they want nothing to do with Russia and the Russian Federation, that they very much want to be their own country. And a lot of Ukrainians see their future as being very much tied to Europe and to the West and to NATO.
So how much of a risk is there right now of an invasion, or is it Putin simply trying to push back against what he sees as a growth or expansion of Europe into his backyard?
Yeah, look, I think that's what he's trying to forestall. The way that I'm reading what's happening at the moment, Kieran, is that this is very much a deterrent move. There are close to 100,000 Russian troops around Ukraine's borders, if you believe what the Ukrainians are saying. And basically, I think what the signal that he's sending to Ukraine and NATO is that if there is any sign of a move towards, association of any sort with NATO, then this will trigger a forceful response from Russia. We could return to anything like we saw in 2014. On the other hand, the stakes are pretty high for NATO. They don't want Russia to be able to call the shots like this, but neither do they particularly want to be obliged to defend Ukraine militarily against Russia, which is nuclear armed and which is still a very militarily capable opponent, and of course supplies countries like Germany with a lot of their energy. So the stakes are very high. I note that the United States has been very clear that it would be economic sanctions and economic retaliation that they would be contemplating rather than any sort of military action.